rockets were once again raining down on Israel. And I always ask people, do you think the United States would have the right to defend ourselves if rockets, for whatever reason, were coming from Vancouver? You know, it seems unlikely.
No offense to any of our Canadian
That's right, no offense.
employees or
Or from Tijuana. You know, we'll be on both sides of the border. Well, of course, you have a right to defend yourself. And in November of 2012, the rockets were coming, and the Israelis were about 48 hours away from a ground invasion. So I flew from Cambodia, negotiated with the Israeli government, then went to Cairo, negotiated a ceasefire with the then Morsi government. And that ceasefire held until last month. Now, here are the questions that I think people who are concerned, as I am, need to ask themselves. Number one, why did Hamas start firing rockets again? Did they believe that Israel would not respond, or did they want to provoke a response? I think the evidence is pretty much in the latter category. They knew Israel eventually would have to respond, and I think Hamas, which to a great extent is feeling somewhat cornered because Morsi's gone, the new president of Egypt, El-Sisi, is no friend of theirs. The attention has moved away from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to Syria, to Iraq, and I do think that the Hamas leadership assumed Israel would respond. Now, why would they want Israel to respond? Well, because they then have the opportunity to once again be on the world stage, and it's a horrible sight to see innocent people, especially children, victims of the conflict. But at the same time, there is, in their calculation, some reason for them to have rejected the Egyptian ceasefire. Because remember, Egypt offered a ceasefire, Israel accepted it, the Palestinians, the Hamas said no. Do they want to draw the West Bank and the Palestinian Authority into a wider conflict? Because after a while, with these terrible pictures of suffering and death, is that going to put more pressure on the Palestinian Authority to have to rise up against the Israelis so that then there's a broader battlefront? Well, all I can tell you is that there needs to be as intense and urgent an effort as possible to come to another ceasefire. And the president today said that he'd asked Secretary Kerry to go to try to reinstate the November 2012 ceasefire. And I fully support that. We have to have a better understanding of what Hamas really wants in order to move them toward a ceasefire. And right now, that's difficult to figure out. The Israelis have said their military action is primarily to destroy the tunnels and destroy the warehouses of rockets. They should be willing to reach a point where they say they've accomplished that, even if they can't get Hamas to a ceasefire. So this is why it's important that the United States be involved, because we have to guarantee Israel's right to self-defense and Israel's security, but we also have to try to stop a conflict that is unfortunately taking innocent life. And that's what I hope Secretary Kerry and the Egyptians and the Israelis are able to achieve and bring Hamas along.